Hello happy crocheters, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this quick and easy scrap yarn bag. For this bag I'm actually going to be cheating. Instead of using scrap yarn, I'm using a self-striping yarn, but hopefully it will give you the idea of being able to use lots of different little scraps with this project. I am using a worsted weight or a number 4 weight yarn for this project. I'm using a needle, scissors, and a size H 5mm crochet hook. To get started, you're going to need your scissors nearby. We're going to make a slip knot approximately 6 inches from our yarn end because that is going to be our fringe area. So you'll make your slip knot and we will begin chaining. The bag I am making is about 6.5 inches wide and going to be 5.5 inches tall. But you can make this bag as wide as you like just by working extra chains. So I'm going to work a chain of 28, but any even number of chains will work just fine for this project. When we get to the end of the chain, what we're going to do is fasten off. For the body of this bag, we are going to fasten off at the end of every row. We are just going to pull that through, and to create row 1 we are going to take our yarn end again, go 6 inches from the yarn end and create a slip knot. Insert your hook, and from here we are simply going to work 1 single crochet into every chain of our foundation chain. So working into the foundation chain, I'm going to go straight into working a single crochet. Technically it is called a standing single crochet, and that is because we did not chain 1 and turn, we did not slip stitch to our work first, we just go straight into working a single crochet into the chain. So just work a single crochet into every chain across. After we work the last single crochet into the last chain, we're just going to measure out about 6 inches and fasten off our work. And just go ahead and pull that through the last stitch. Now the important thing with this project is that when we go to work the next row, we need to turn our work. We want to make sure we flip it over so that every stitch, every row is going the opposite direction of the previous row. So once again, we're going to make a slip knot about 6 inches from our yarn end, insert our hook, start in that first stitch, and just single crochet in every stitch across. And that's all you need to do for the body of the bag, is just to continue repeating this row, making sure that you have 6 inches of yarn end on both sides of your row, and making sure you turn your row before you begin the next row. Continue working this until you have 56 rows, or until your bag, your piece of crochet, is twice the height that you want your bag to be. So here I'm finishing off the last stitch of row 2. Then we will measure out our yarn end and fasten off and pull this yarn to the last stitch of our row. From here you're just going to repeat these rows. Remember to turn your work between rows, and then just continue working rows until you have a total of 56 rows, or twice the desired height of your final bag. So here is my finished bag. As you can see, I'm folding it in half because to see how tall it's going to be, because that's checking for my project that I am making. And now we are going to make a little triangle flap at the top of our project. So again, I'm making a slip knot, inserting my hook. This flap will be the only yarn ends that we actually weave in. So everything in this color will get woven in, everything else will not. To start this row, we are actually going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So insert your hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the second stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That creates a single crochet 2 together, or a decrease. Now we are going to single crochet in every stitch across until we only have 2 stitches remaining. If you made your bag wider, you can follow those same instructions. You will just work extra rows to get to your pointed triangle flap at the top. Once you reach your last 2 stitches, we're going to work a single crochet 2 together, or a decrease again. So pull up a loop in the next 2 stitches, then yarn over and pull through the 3 loops on your hook. Now we are not going to fasten off. We are going to chain 1 and turn our work and repeat the last row. To do this, we're going to work a decrease over the first 2 stitches, or single crochet 2 together. So pull up a loop in the first 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook to create a decrease. Single crochet in every stitch across until you only have 2 stitches remaining. When you reach your last 2 stitches, work another decrease. So pull up a loop in the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through the 3 on your hook. Now you're simply going to repeat this row until you have a total of 12 rows. Or again, if you made this a wider bag, you're going to repeat this row until your very last row only has 4 stitches in it. Once your 12 rows for the bag flap is worked, or however many rows you need to work to get to 4 stitches left. Now we are going to chain 1 and turn and work the last few rows of the bag flap. For this row, we are just going to do 2 decreases. So pull up a loop in the first 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through the loops on your hook, and repeat. Pull up a loop in the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through the loops on your hook. Now to finish the last row before our kind of finishing row, I'm going to chain 1 and turn and work a decrease, pulling up a loop in both stitches, yarning over and pulling through all the loops on your hook, and then we are going to go ahead and fasten this off. The last row we are working of the bag is designed to smooth off the edges of the bag flap. So with the same color as the bag flap, we're going to make a slip knot and insert our hook, and we're simply going to work 1 single crochet into the side of each bag flap row. Starting at bag flap row 1, we're just going to work a single crochet and then work a single crochet into the side of every bag flap row until we reach the point. And as you work, you will see how adding this row along the sides is going to give us a nice smooth edge. When you get to that point, you have 2 options. Option number 1 is to chain 2, turn, and single crochet in the side of each row on the way down. This is for if you do not want to put a buttonhole at the top of this bag flap. The other option is to use more than 2 chain, so you can use 4 or 5 chain at the corner depending on the size of your button that you're going to use to close up this bag. So after that, you would just single crochet into the side of each row on your way down, and it's completely up to you. You can chain 2 for a simple point or chain more in order to make a buttonhole. This bag is for my daughter and she's not very good at buttons yet, so I'm just going to chain 2 and then work 1 single crochet and to the side of each row on the way down, only working into the rows of the bag flap. And when you're finishing your work, the color that I'm working with right now is the only color of yarn ends I'm going to weave in. So when we are done, we're going to only have about 8 yarn ends to sew in. So I'm ready to fasten off. I've just made it to the end of bag flap rows. Just going to yarn over and pull that through. To assemble our bag, you are just going to take the bottom of your crocheted piece here, and we are going to fold it up into the top section of the bag body. So that is our flap. We're going to go down to the bottom, fold this in half, and then what we're going to do, instead of sewing these sides together, which you can do, we're actually going to knot them together. So I'm going to take 2 yarn ends from the front of the bag and 2 from the back of the bag, and I am going to make an overhand knot very carefully and slide that knot up to right next to the bag, and that's what I'm going to actually do to close up this bag. So we're just going to pull it slowly so you can position that knot really close to the bag. That's my first knot. So now I'm going to grab 2 yarn ends from the front of the bag and 2 more yarn ends from the back of the bag. Hold them all together and make an overhand knot, and I'm going to continue making knots down this side of the bag, and then I will go and make them on the other side of the bag. And that's how we're going to close up this bag. It does have little holes down the side, so if you don't want those, you can use yarn and a needle and sew up the side of the bag. But this is just a fun no-sew way to close up the side of the bag. So I'm going to make knots down this side and down the next. Once you have both sides done, you can see this side is done. Now I can trim my fringe just to make it look a little nicer. It's completely up to you. You can make this fringe super small, maybe like an inch, or you can make it much longer. I'm basically just going to find the smallest piece of fringe I have here and try to cut everything to be right about that size. I just think the fringe on this makes it look fun and very whimsical. And I think this bag would look really pretty if you just use a lot of scrap colors that you love together. So now, unless you are making a clutch purse, you probably want to have some kind of bag handle. So take your accent color yarn or any color yarn you want, make a slip knot, and go ahead and chain. Again, you can chain as many as you like. For the child size bag that you'll see in the photos, I chained 71. If this is for an adult, I would definitely say 140 at least for your chain, but that is completely up to you. Just chain as far as you'd like in order to make the size handle you want for your bag. Once your chain is long enough, for the child size bag, I decided to single crochet in the second chain from the hook and every chain across. If you would like a thicker bag handle, you could work double crochets instead of single crochets. But for this project, I am just going to work 1 row of single crochet. Another option would be to work multiple rows of single crochet in order to make the bag handle thicker. It is completely up to you. You can use single crochet, half double crochet. Right now I'm going to show you, I'm going to work in the 3rd chain from the hook and show you a little bit of what it would look like to work double crochet. The double crochet will give you a slightly thicker handle. So if you would like to use that, you absolutely could. But once you reach the end of your row, you'll just fasten off and then you will sew your bag handle to your bag. I have completed my bag handle and just fastened off. Now I'm going to sew it onto my bag You want to make sure that you're not twisting the handle when you sew them in place. And I'm just going to use a little yarn needle and sew the edge of the bag handle right on the inside of the bag flap, the very last row of the bag body. And I'm just going to sew that nice and tight, knot it with the other yarn end, and then I'll weave in those ends. And again, I'm going to make sure that my bag handle is not twisted. Grab a new piece of yarn and sew the other side on. And then I'll weave in these last 4 ends and our bag will be done. So here is our finished bag. It is really fun in all the bright colors. If you did add a buttonhole to the top of the bag flap, you could sew a button on right now. But there you have it. That is the entire bag. I hope you enjoyed the video tutorial. If you did, make sure to check out my other video tutorials. And as always, thank you so much for watching.